Before the crown, before the cameras, before the world called her the people's princess, there was only a little girl named Diana. She was born into privilege, but even the grandest homes cannot promise a happy childhood. Behind the quiet beauty of Sandringham, a family was slowly breaking apart. Long before the world learned her name, Diana learned that love could sometimes leave without warning. When Diana's parents separated, she was still too young to understand why. Children rarely ask who is right. They simply wonder why the people they love can no longer stay together. No title, no fortune, no beautiful house can answer that question. Perhaps that was the first home Diana ever lost. And though life would take her into palaces, part of her heart never stopped searching for another. Diana was never the loudest voice in the room. She listened before she spoke. She noticed the child standing alone. She smiled first. She cared quietly. Long before compassion became the reason the world admired her, it was already becoming the language of her heart. As a young woman, Diana worked as a nursery assistant in London. Her world was wonderfully simple, helping little hands button their coats, tying tiny shoelaces, comforting tears that would be forgotten before the day was over. She believed tomorrow would look much the same. She could not know these were the last ordinary days of her life. Then came Prince Charles. Almost overnight, silence became headlines. Privacy became public. The young woman who had spent her days caring for children was suddenly standing before the eyes of the world. People saw a future princess. Diana saw something much more human. A chance to build the family she had always longed for. At 19, Diana stepped toward a future that seemed brighter than anything she had imagined. Toward love, toward marriage, toward home. The world called it a fairy tale. To Diana, it felt like the beginning of the life she had always hoped to find. She could not yet know that the little girl who had once lost her first home was about to place every dream into another. In 1981, everything changed. The young nursery assistant who had once lived a quiet life suddenly became the face on every front page. Photographers waited outside her apartment. Reporters followed every step. The world wanted to know Diana Spencer. She was only 19, still discovering herself, while millions believed they already knew her. When Prince Charles asked Diana to marry him, the celebration reached far beyond Britain. To the world, it was a royal engagement. To Diana, it was something far more personal. The promise of a husband, the hope of a family, the dream that love could finally become a place she would never have to leave. On July 29, 1981, the doors of St. Paul's Cathedral opened, and the world held its breath. They saw an unforgettable wedding, a magnificent dress, a future Princess of Wales. What they could not see was a 20-year-old woman carrying hopes far greater than a crown. She was carrying the dream of a little girl who believed she had finally found home. The palace was filled with history, tradition, ceremony, duty. Every smile belonged to the public. Every appearance became part of history. Diana had entered one of the most famous homes in the world. Yet even the most magnificent palace cannot guarantee the warmth of a family. There was something about Diana that no royal tradition could teach. She never seemed distant. She knelt to speak with children. She met strangers with genuine warmth. People didn't admire her because she seemed perfect. They admired her because she felt real. Without asking for it, She was slowly becoming the princess people felt closest to. The photographs were beautiful. The headlines were joyful. The fairy tale seemed complete. But cameras can capture a smile, not a silence. Behind the celebrations, a different story was quietly beginning, one the world would not understand until many years later. In 1982, Diana became a mother. 2 years later, she welcomed her second son. To the nation, they were princes. To Diana, they were simply William and Harry. She wanted them to know a childhood filled with warmth, to feel safe, to feel loved. Perhaps she hoped they would never have to wonder whether home would still be there tomorrow. By the middle of the 1980s, Diana had become one of the most recognized women on Earth. Crowds waited for hours just to see her. Newspapers followed her every move. Millions believed they knew Princess Diana. Yet photographs can remember a face, while knowing almost nothing about the person behind it. Years later, Diana spoke openly about the emotional struggles she experienced during those years. The world remembered the gowns, the applause, the radiant smile. It could not see the quiet moments after the crowds had gone, or how difficult it could be to carry a life that no longer belonged only to herself. Some of the deepest wounds leave no scar the eye can find. Time has a quiet way of changing people. As the years passed, Diana and Charles seemed to be walking toward different horizons, not because of one single moment, but because distance often begins in whispers, long before it is heard in words. The family Diana had once dreamed of holding together was becoming harder to hold. Then something unexpected happened. The places where Diana seemed most at peace were not ballrooms or royal ceremonies. They were children's hospitals, shelters, hospital wards, places where people reached for her, not because she was a princess, but because she made them feel they mattered. And somehow, those quiet moments began to heal something inside her too. As a little girl, Diana searched for a place where love would stay. She never fully found the fairy tale she had imagined. Instead, she discovered something far greater. She could become that place for someone else. For a frightened child. For a lonely patient. For people the world had forgotten. The little girl who had spent so many years searching for love was quietly becoming a woman who gave it away. And without knowing it, she was already changing the world. Something had changed. Diana no longer measured her life by royal ceremonies or headlines. She measured it by quieter moments. A frightened child who smiled again. A patient who no longer felt alone. A hand that no longer trembled. Without ever saying it, she had found the life she was meant to live. In April 1987, Diana visited London's Middlesex Hospital, where people living with HIV and AIDS were being treated. Fear surrounded the disease. Many still believed that even a simple touch could be dangerous. Diana reached out and shook a patient's hand without wearing gloves. She didn't argue. She didn't lecture. She simply reminded the world that compassion begins with seeing another human being. Sometimes, the smallest gesture carries the greatest courage. Wherever Diana traveled, she stopped. She listened. She knelt to meet children at eye level. She stayed longer than schedules expected. Sometimes, being present is the greatest gift we can give. No law declared Diana the people's princess. People did. Not because she lived in a palace, but because she never made ordinary people feel small. What remained was kindness. In January 1997, Diana traveled to Angola to support the campaign against anti-personnel landmines. Wearing protective equipment, she walked through a cleared minefield. She wanted the world to remember the families who still lived with fear every day. As a little girl, Diana searched for a place where love would never leave. Wherever she went, people felt seen, children felt safe, patients felt remembered, the lonely felt less alone. Without ever planning to, the little girl who had spent her life searching for home had quietly become one for countless others. Dreams rarely disappear overnight. They fade quietly. One conversation left unfinished. One silence that lingers a little longer. One future that slowly becomes impossible to hold. The family Diana had once hoped would heal the sadness of her childhood was slipping gently through her hands. For years, others had spoken for Diana. Now, the world finally heard her story, in her own words. She spoke honestly about pressure, loneliness, and the emotional struggles she had carried behind the public smile. Not to seek sympathy, simply to stop hiding. In August 1996, the marriage officially ended. The fairy tale was over. But Diana's story was not. For the first time in many years, she could begin choosing the life she wanted to live. Sometimes, an ending is also a beginning. The style of Her Royal Highness was gone. The love people felt for Diana remained. If anything, it grew even stronger. The title had introduced her to the world. Her compassion was the reason the world never let her go. For the first time, her days belonged to her. She chose where to go, whom to help, which causes deserved her voice. She was finally becoming the woman she had quietly been all along. As a little girl, Diana dreamed of a home that would never fall apart. Life never gave her that promise. Instead, it gave her something unexpected, the chance to become a source of comfort for people carrying heartbreaks of their own. She made people feel less alone. And sometimes, that is how love finds its way home. By 1997, something had quietly changed. For the first time in years, Diana no longer lived by someone else's schedule. She chose where to go, whom to meet, which voices deserved to be heard. The future no longer looked like a fairy tale. It looked like something far more precious. It looked like her own life. Wherever Diana traveled, she was drawn to people the world often overlooked. A child waiting in a hospital bed, a family rebuilding after war, someone whose name would never appear in a newspaper. She could not change every life, but she believed every life deserved to be seen. And sometimes, being seen is where hope begins. That summer, the cameras never seemed far away. Every holiday became a headline. Every photograph became another story. The world watched Diana constantly, yet behind every lens, she was still searching for something remarkably ordinary. A quiet afternoon, an honest conversation, a few moments that belonged only to herself. At the end of August 1997, Diana arrived in Paris. It was never meant to become a place remembered by history. Just another stop, another evening, another journey. No one could have imagined how quickly an ordinary night would become unforgettable. In the early hours of August 31st, 1997, the car carrying Diana was involved in a high-speed crash inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Despite the efforts of emergency responders and doctors, She died from her injuries. She was 36 years old. In a single night, the world fell silent. By morning, flowers began to appear outside Kensington Palace. Then more flowers. Then thousands more. People came without being invited. Many stood in silence. Many simply wept. They had not come to mourn a title. They had come to say goodbye to the woman who had made them believe that kindness could still change the world. The days that followed felt strangely quiet. Flowers covered the gates of Kensington Palace. Letters arrived from every corner of the world. People stood for hours, many saying nothing at all. Grief does not always need words. Sometimes, the presence is enough. On the day of Diana's funeral, the world watched two young boys walk behind their mother's coffin. William, Harry, the children she had tried so hard to protect. No parent hopes to leave that memory behind. No child should have to carry it. For a moment, the world walked with them. Years have passed. New leaders have come. New headlines have filled the newspapers. Yet Diana remains part of the world's memory. Not because she was perfect, not because her life was free from sorrow, but because people remembered how she made them feel. Hospitals still remember her visits. Campaigns against landmines still remember her voice. Families still tell stories about meeting her. History often remembers power. People often remember kindness. Sometimes, those are not the same thing. As a little girl, Diana searched for a home where love would never leave. Life never gave her that dream. Instead, she became a place of comfort for others, for a frightened child, for a forgotten patient, for people who simply needed someone willing to stop, to listen, and to care. The world first knew Diana as a young woman, then as a princess, later as a humanitarian. But perhaps her greatest legacy was much quieter. She reminded millions of people that compassion is not measured by titles. It is measured one life at a time, one hand at a time, one act of kindness at a time. Some stories end with victory. Some end with tragedy. Diana's story leaves something different. A question. If one person's kindness could bring comfort to so many, what difference might our own kindness make? To just one life? She spent much of her life searching for a place to call home. In the end, she became one. Thank you for watching Story Reverie. We'll see you in the next extraordinary story.